guys, this is Rolling Meeple,
This is Panda Meeple.
and welcome to a preview from the Rolling Meeple. Today we are going through a game that's coming to Kickstarter on January 22nd, 2019. This is Ore from Aether's Games. The theme of the game is actually one I haven't really seen before. You're playing a bunch of miners and going down into the mines and gathering ore, hence the name of the game. It's set in the industrial period of the United States, so it's a worker placement game and it's a resource management game. Do you want to go through a turn?
So, this game, keep in mind, as we're going through it, some of the pictures that you'll be seeing are just the production pictures, because it's going to Kickstarter and nothing's final yet, and the one that we played with was a print and play. So, just keep that in mind. Some of the critiques might not have any effect in the future because they'll be changing them anyway. So, as far as a turn, the game runs based on victory points. So there are 7 rounds, and each turn you place meeples at certain places in the town that give you certain benefits. So the main mechanic in the game is collecting ore, and you do that by going into mines. In the 2-player game, there are 4 mines that are open, and the way that the mines work is that there's 3 different levels. So the first level that everyone starts on is the level that doesn't require any special materials, and that's indicated by the little meeple symbol. As you go down, the mine obviously is going to be a little bit harder to traverse, so you need some special materials. The easiest thing to pick up is the drill bit. And a drill bit comes in the form of tokens. You can pick it up at one of the spots on the board, and then throughout the game as you complete buildings, you'll also have a chance to get drill bits through that. But basically a drill bit is a one-use token, and there are drill bit symbols on certain levels of the mine, and they indicate where you have to turn in the drill bit to be able to use that level of the mine. And then also, the further you go down, there's a second and a third level, which is indicated by the numbers, and those are for mine cages. And a mine cage is another thing that you can pick up on the board. It's a little bit more expensive, so it takes a little bit longer to upgrade to that level, but you can go to basically the bottom of the mine, and then there's a lot more resources at that point. When you get to the end of the mine, then you replace it with a new card at the end of the round. So that's the main mechanic, is picking that up, but there's also other spots on the board that you can pick up buildings and contracts as well.
Going back to the mines, you get to either the bottom of the mine, or you get as far as down as you can with what you have. If you can't go any further in the mine, whether either by being at the bottom or just you don't have either the drill bit or the mine cage, then you are done, and then the mine gets flipped over for a new one.
Yeah, at the beginning of the game, you'll pretty much be changing mines pretty quickly because no one can really go very deep at the beginning, especially because there's only one spot that you can pick up drill bits and pick up mine cages. So everyone's gonna kind of be fighting over those 2 spots at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then once everyone has one, you'll be able to keep the mines up longer. But they do go away when you're no longer able to explore them. A couple of the other spots that we thought were really useful in the game were the market, where you can buy or sell ore for the market price. And then I briefly mentioned the contract spot. So the contract spot is the other area on the board that is a major way that you can get victory points. So in the game, basically, you're playing like an entrepreneur who is trying to build up the town. And so the way that you do that is you complete contracts, and you use the ore that you have to fill a line of requirement for each contract at the end of each round. You're required to do the top line, at the end of each round. And if you
the next open line.
Yes, the first open line that you have, and then if you're not able to do that, then you lose the contract because you're not able to fulfill it. So you kind of want to plan ahead as you pick up contracts or the ones that you already have to make sure that you're able to fulfill them. They do give you money bonuses after you complete each line, and then once you complete all of them, you can basically turn in the contract to be able to build buildings. And buildings is the other way that you gain victory points in the game. So there are a variety of different buildings in the game that give you different benefits. Some of them are just victory points, and then some of them are or they give you drill bits or other benefits to the game. But basically, the more buildings and the more contracts that you complete, the more victory points that you'll have at the end.
My favorite combination was to have 2 contracts open, one that I complete, and then the next one that has only 1 line left, and have the ore available to fulfill that one because I have a building in my hand that allows you to complete 1 line of a contract without or mid turn basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I turn 1 contract in, build the building that allows me to fill up a line on a contract, and I immediately complete the other contract. And that allowed me to. I think one time it allowed me to build like 5 buildings in a row.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous.
Which probably helped me be very close to how I got so close to you.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of planning ahead in the game. If you there's a lot of slow burn to your strategy in this game. You kind of have to like plan it out kind of a couple turns in advance. As far as, I mean, what buildings you get are kind of random because you pick it up from a upside down pile. So you kind of get what you get, but once you have them, then you can kind of look at the rewards that you're going to get from them and kind of plan to use them to give you access to other things, you know, as you turn them in. So as far as the turn, that's basically how each turn goes, and then at the end of 7 rounds, you count up all the victory points.
Now, what did we think about the game? I really liked the theme, the way it played. It's a really fun game. I probably will back it when it comes out.
Yeah.
The only critique that I had is there's one spot on the board that, at least for a 2-player game, didn't seem all that useful. There's one spot on the board that you go to and you can grab the top mine card and put that in front of you as your own private mine with a special worker on it. We didn't find those in the 2-player game, those to be that useful. I mean, there was enough mine spaces open that we could get what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe in a 3 or 4-player game with spots being taken up more quickly,
yeah,
those would become useful. But in a 2-player game, we didn't really find those that very useful. That's really the only critique I have of the game. Other than that, we both really liked it.
Yeah, yeah. The one thing I do have to say about the private mine, which is the spot that he's talking about, is like he said, in a multiplayer game where you're having more than 2 people and there's not that many spots, it might be more useful. I could also see it being useful like at the very end point of the game when it's really tight and you might have, like, you can only complete 1 line for each round unless you go to another spot in the board that allows you to advance your orders, which allows you to fill lines, or if you make buildings that let you fill lines. So it kind of slows you down as far as completing the contracts. So I could see it being useful at the very end when you're like, I just have this 1 more contract and there's only 1 round left and I want to fill 2 lines or something, and I need ore of this kind. That might be helpful, but really you could just buy it at the market, which is why we didn't really use it for a 2-player game, because there wasn't a whole lot of benefit. So, I mean, that to me was like the weakest spot on the board, but everything else I thought worked really well. I mean, I thought the way that it played was really well. designed, and I really like how some of, and it'll probably change when they go to Kickstarter a little bit, but the way that the spots were designed on the board was really nice as far as explaining what you do and what other people get at certain spots, because they have kind of a mechanic where if I go to a spot first, then I get a certain benefit, but then the rest of the team or the rest of the players get a similar but a little bit different benefit. So for example, like at the building market, what is it? The office, something like,
I can't remember exactly off the top of my head.
Our Meeple will pop up and tell you. The place where you build or pick up new buildings, if I went there first, I would pay less money, but then the other players can also pick up more buildings. They just have to pay a little bit more. So even though,
or it's you can buy up to a maximum of 3.
But it is a little bit cheaper.
The next person can only pick up a maximum of 2, I believe.
Yeah,
but it's probably a little cheaper.
Yeah. So it's kind of nice because even though there's like limited spots, you can still do things on other people's turns. They're just not as beneficial as if you had gone there yourself. So I did like that mechanic as far as like worker placement. You don't always see that. It's kind of like, I have the spot and too bad because I took it, you know? and I haven't seen that before, so I thought that was cool.
The other spot that's kind of the same thing is where you can, there's a space that's called the advanced orders. You go there, you can fill in advance a space on one of your contracts or multiple of your contracts if you can. The other person can do the same thing. If you're the first one to go there, though, you get to pick up a building. Mm-hmm. Although that can lead to a little bit of more strategy, because even if you go to that space and fill in one of your contract spaces, you still need to be able to fill in the next one down on all your contracts as well at the end of the turn. So I like the game. It's a really good balancing act between trying to gather resources and filling contracts and building buildings. Up until now, the best worker placement in the game that I liked, just because I haven't played Dinosaur Island yet, is Waterdeep. That's the best one I can put it up against.
It's pretty similar,
and I think it was actually better than Waterdeep almost.
It's definitely, in some regard. It doesn't take that long to set up, which is a big thing for some people, because if you just want to play a game, like Waterdeep takes a while to set up, just because you have so many things to shuffle and like figuring out what goes where and whatever. This game, there's like 4 or 5 piles to shuffle and then you're done. Like you just set out your meeples and you're fine. So like there isn't a whole lot of setup time, which is really nice because you can kind of just get down and play. In Waterdeep, there's a little bit more take that than in this game. There's really not a whole lot of that, except for like choosing spots, obviously, but that's kind of with every worker placement. But there's not a whole lot of like take that. It's more of how can I best use my resources, which is, I really like the game. Yeah.
So again, that is Ore from Aetherist Games. It's coming out on January 22nd, 2019. Just a couple weeks from when we are filming this video, so look for it then. Until then, this is Rolling Meeple.
This is Meeple.
Thanks.
Bye.